Hi, welcome to our meeting. We're hoping that this lesson will help you remember how to convert mixed numbers into improper fractions and then improper fractions back into mixed numbers. And after you do a few of these with me, I think that it'll be a lot easier for you. So I want to start out with giving you some examples of improper fractions. And as you look at 6 over 4, I want you to remember that this is really a division problem. So the denominator is always the divisor. That's on the outside of a fraction box. And the numerator, the 6, that's always the dividend. That's the part that's inside a fraction box. So if I want to write 6 over 4 as a mixed number, I'm just dividing. 4 goes into 6 one whole time. So the 1 becomes the whole number. I multiply and subtract. And the remainder, or what's left over from the dividend, becomes the numerator again. And the denominator stays the same. That's the divisor. Now, if you look at your directions here, it says to write it in lowest terms. So I have to go back and I think, what's the greatest common factor of 2 and 4? What's the highest number that divides both 2 and 4? Well, it's 2. So if I divide the top by 2, I'd get 1. If I divide the bottom by 2, 4 divided by 2, I get 2. So I know that 6 over 4 is the same as 1.5 or $1.50. Let's look at 14 over 4. So in the same sense, 14 is going to be my dividend. 4 is my divisor. 4 goes into 14 3 times. So the quotient, the answer up here, that's really the whole number, 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. That goes on top and the bottom stays the same. Now I have to simplify 2 over 4. And it's just like number 1, the greatest common factor of 2 and 4 is 2. So if I divide 2 by 2, I get 1. If I divide 4 by 2, I get 2. Of course, the whole number stays the same. So 14 over 4 is really $3.50, or 3 1/2. So it's really important that you learn how to do this. It makes understanding fractions easier. So here I have 115 divided by 30. So here's 115, and the denominator becomes the divisor. I know 30 times 3 is 90. So my whole number is 3. 115 minus 90 is 25 over 30. Now my greatest common factor of 25 and 30, the highest number that divides both of those would be 5. So if I divide 25 by 5, I get 5. If I divide 30 by 5, I get 6. So this would simplify to 3 5/6. My next one, I have 80 over 25. So remember, the denominator is the divisor. That's on the outside of the box. The numerator is the dividend. That's on the inside. I know 3 times 25 is 75. So my whole number is going to be 3. And there's a remainder of 5. So the remainder is the leftover dividend. That's the numerator, and the denominator stays the same. So I have 5 over 25, but I know I can simplify that because that shares a common factor, 5. So if I divide the top by 5, I get 1. And if I divide the bottom by 5, 25 by 5, I get 5. So this is 3 1/5, or $3.20. 80 over 25 is $3.20, 3 1/5. Let's look at the next one. I have 27 over 9. And this one is going to have no remainder. If I simply take 27 divided by 9, I just get the whole number, 3. And that's your answer. 24 divided by 12. So the denominator is the divisor, and the numerator is the dividend. So I know 12 times 2 is 24. And when I multiply this, there's nothing left over. So I know my answer is just 2. Let's look at the next one. I have 65 over 35. So the denominator is going to be the divisor. I'm going to put 35 over here. And the numerator is the dividend. Now I know that 35 times 2 is 70. So I can't say that it goes into it twice. I'm just going to say once. And then I have to subtract 65 minus 35 is 30. So this is really 1 and 30 over 35. But remember, I have to write that in lowest terms. So I have to go back and look at 30 and 35. What's the highest, the greatest common factor? I know 30 and 35 can be divided by 5. So if I divide the top by 5, I get 6. If I divide 35 by 5, I get 7. So these would reduce to 1 and 6 over 7. So here I have 36 over 16. So I remember the denominator is the divisor. Here's 16. And the numerator, 36, goes inside the box. That's called the dividend. And I know 16 times 2 is going to be 32. So I'm going to put a 2 here. That's my quotient. The quotient is also the whole number. 2 times 16 is 32. When I subtract, there's a remainder of 4. So I have 4 becomes the numerator again. I have 2 and 4 over 16. But 4 over 16 can be reduced because they share the common factor of 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So this would be the reduced mixed number, 2 and 1/4. So you could say 36 over 16 is really $2.25. $2.25. Let's scroll down and look at a few more of these. Okay, so I have 69 over 21. I'm going to write this as a division equation. The denominator is on the outside, it's the divisor, and the numerator, the top number, is the dividend. I know that 3 times 21 is 63. That's pretty close. So I'm going to put a 3 up here, and that quotient is also my whole number for the mixed number. 3 times 21 is 63. And when I subtract 9 minus 3, I get 6. And that's going to be the numerator, and the denominator stays the same. And then I ask myself, are there any common factors between 6 and 21? Well, I know 3 divides 6 and 3 divides 21. So I'm going to reduce this. I'm going to rewrite the whole number. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 21 divided by 3 is 7. And since 2 is prime and it's not a factor of 7, I know that it's reduced. Now the next one is kind of an easy one. If the numerator and the denominator are the same, it's just 1. That's like saying 16 divided by 16 is simply 1. There's no remainder. There's no fraction that you'd write next to it. The answer is just 1. That's not so bad. 95 over 40. 95 is the dividend. That goes inside the box. 40 is the divisor. 40 goes into 95 2 whole times. I multiply and subtract. 95 minus 80 is 15. So I have 2 and 15 over 40. But I think I can reduce that because 15 and 40 share the common factor of 5. So if I divided 15 by 5, I'd get 3. If I divide 40 by 5, I would get 8. So this would reduce to 2 and 3/8. Let's look at 28 over 12. So here's 28 divided by 12. I know 12 times 2 is 24. If I subtract, there's 4 left over, so that would be 2 and 4/12. I'm going to write a 2 here. But I know that 4 and 12 share the factors 2, 4, and 1. But the greatest factor is 4. So I'm going to divide 4 divided by 4 is 1. And then 12 divided by 4 is 3. So 2 and 1, or $2.66 is the same as 28 over 12. Here's 28 over 18. So I'm going to write the denominator as the divisor and the numerator as the dividend. I know that 18 times 2 is be more than 28. So I'm just going to put a 1 right here. 18 times 1 is 18. Then I'm subtracting, I have 10 left over. So this would be 1 and 10/18. Then I'm going to look and say, can I reduce that? Are there common factors between 10 and 18? Well, I know 2 fits into 10, and 2 fits into 18. 5 fits into 10, but 5 doesn't fit into 18. So I think 2 is my common factor. So I'm going to divide 10 divided by 2 is 5. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So 1 and 5/9 is reduced because 5 is prime and it's not a factor of 9. Let's look at 56 and 16. So 16 is my divisor. 56 is my dividend. So I know 3 times 16 is going to be 54. So I'm going to write 3 in the quotient. That's my whole number. Here's 54. I'm going to subtract, and there's 2 left over. So that's 3 and 2/16. But I can reduce 2 over 16 because 2 and 16 share the common factor of 2. So if I divide 2 by 2, I'd get 1. If I divide 16 by 2, I would get 8. So 3 and 1/8 is the reduced mixed number of 56 over 16. Here's 26 over 12. 12 is my divisor. 26 is my dividend. I know 12 times 2 is 24. That's pretty close to 26. And I have 2 remaining. So I have 2 and 2/12. But I know that I can reduce 2 over 12 if I divide both of those by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 would be 6. 2 and 1/6 is the mixed number of 26 over 12. Here's 51 over 27. So 27 is my divisor. 51 is my dividend. Now, if I tried to put 27 into 51 twice, that would be more than 51. So I'm just going to put a 1 here. And then I'm going to subtract. So 51 minus 27 is going to equal 24 over 27. Then I'm going to ask myself, are there any common factors between 24 and 27? Well, I know, let's see, 3 times 8 is 24, and I know 3 times 9 is 27. I know 6 is a factor of 24, 8 is a factor of 24, but those aren't factors of 27. So I'm going to divide both by 3. So if I divide 24 by 3, I'd get 8. If I divide 27 by 3, I'd get 9. Now that is the reduced mixed number of 51 over 27. Let's look at 42 over 16. 16 is my divisor. 42 is my dividend. Okay, how many times will 16 fit into 42? If we try 3 times, that would be too much. I think twice. So 2 times 16 is 32. 42 minus 32 is a remainder of 10. So this would be 2 and 10 over 16. But I think I can reduce 10 over 16 by the common factor of 2. So if I have 10 divided by 2, I would get 5. 16 divided by 2 would be 8. And since 5 is prime and it's not a factor of 8, I know it's in lowest terms. 4 is the denominator. It's also the divisor. 14 is the dividend. 4 fits into 14 3 times 12. And I subtract those 2 left over. So I have 3. That's the quotient. And 2 over 4. But that can be reduced because 2 is a common factor of 4. So if I divide 2 by 2, I'd get 1. If I divide 4 by 2, I'd get 2. So 14 over 4 is really $3.50, or 3 1/2. Let's look at 66 over 27. 27 is my divisor. 66 is my dividend. want to see how many times 27 will fit into 66. I think it'll go into it twice. 2 times 27 is going to be 54. And when I subtract, there's only, looks like 12 left over. So I have 2 and 12 over 27. Then I think, can I reduce 12 over 27? I know the factors of 12 are 6, 2, 3, 4, 12, and 1. What's the highest of those factors that fit into 27? Well, 6 doesn't fit into 27. 4 doesn't fit into 27. 3 does. So I'm going to divide the numerator by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And I'm going to divide the denominator by 3. 27 divided by 3 is 9. So this would reduce to 2 and 4/9. And even though 4 isn't prime, it doesn't share any factors with the 9 except 1. And since 1 is the only common factor between 4 and 9, you know that 4/9 is the lowest terms. You know it's reduced. Here's 25 over 10. The denominator becomes the divisor. The numerator becomes the dividend. I know 10 will divide 25 2 whole times with 5 remaining. So I would write that as 2 and 5/10. But I know that 5 and 10 share the factor 5. So if I divide 5 divided by 5, I'd get 1. If I divide 10 by 5, I'd get 2. So I know 25 over 10 is really $2.50 or just 2.5. Here's 48 over 15. So my denominator becomes the divisor. My numerator becomes the dividend. Let's see, 15 times 2 would be 30, times 3 would be 45. That's pretty close. And I'd only have 3 remaining. So I would write the quotient as the whole number. The remainder here becomes the numerator. And the denominator stays the same. And then I think, are there any common factors between 3 and 15? Well, 3 divides 15, of course, itself. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So I know that 48 over 15 is the same as $3.20, or 3 1/5. This one's not so bad. 8 over 8, you're just dividing the top by 8, and you just get 1. Just the whole number 1, and there's no remainder. Okay, so I want to shift from converting improper fractions to mixed numbers to improper fractions. So now we're going to look at the other side of the coin. And when you're doing this process, there's a couple things to remember. You're multiplying the denominator by the whole number, and then you're adding the numerator, and the denominator stays the same. So it literally would look like 1 6/8 would look like this: 8 times 1 plus 6 over 8. So I know 8 times 1 is 8. 8 plus 6 is 14. And the denominator stays the same. And that is the improper fraction for 1 6/8. So if I have 6 1/3, I'm multiplying the denominator by the whole number. I'm adding the numerator, and the denominator stays the same. It would look like this: 6 times 3 plus 1 over 3. So 6 times 3 is 18, plus 1 is 19, and the bottom is 3. Here's 4 and 2 6. So I'm going to do 4 times 6 plus 2 over 6. So I know 4 times 6 is 24, plus 2 is 26 over 6. 6 6/10. So I'm going to multiply here the denominator by the whole number, 6 times 10. I'm going to add the numerator plus 6, and the denominator stays the same, stays 10. So 6 times 10 is 60, plus 6 is going to be 66 over 10. Let's look at 8.5, $8.50. First I multiply, and then I add. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1 is 17 over 2.
17.
So I multiplied the denominator by the whole number, add the numerator. So I have 7 times 5 plus 2, and the bottom stays the same. So 7 times 5 is 35 plus 2 is going to be 37 over 5. $6.50. I'm going to multiply 6 times 2. I'm going to add the numerator plus 1, and the denominator stays 2. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 becomes 13 over 2. $7.33. I'm going to do 7 times 3 plus 1 over 3. So 7 times 3 is 21 plus 1 is going to be 22 over 3. Okay, so we have 3 and 4, 6, which is the same as $3.66. I multiply 6 times 3, and then I add the numerator. So 6 times 3 plus 4 over 6. I know 6 times 3 is 18, plus 4 is going to be 22 over 6. Here we have $8.50. So that's the same thing, 8 times 2 plus 1. The denominator stays the same, that stays 2. So 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1, that's going to be 17 over 2. Here we have 4 and 8/9. So I'm going to multiply my denominator times my whole number and add the numerator. The denominator stays the same. 4 times 9 plus 8 over 9. So I know 4 times 9 is 36. 36 plus 8 is going to be 44 over 9. And then over here we have $2.80. So I want to multiply my denominator times my whole number and add the numerator. So I have 2 times 5 plus 4 over 5. So I know 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is going to be 14 over 5. Let's scroll down and look at a few more of these. So here we have 1/5 or $2.20. So if I want to convert this, I'm going to multiply the denominator times the whole number and add the numerator. So I have 2 times 5 plus 1 over 5. So 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11/5. Here I have $2.50, 2 and 3 over 6. So if I multiply 2 times 6, add the numerator, plus 3, and the denominator stays the same, 6. So I know 2 times 6 is 12. 12 plus 3 becomes
21
over 6.
Okay.
Let's look at 1 and 5/8.
Yes.
Multiply the denominator times the whole number, add the numerator. So 8 times 1 is 8, plus 5 is going to be 13 over 8. Here's $6.50. I'm going to multiply 6 times 2 plus 1. So 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13, and your denominator stays the same. It stays 2. And here we have 8 times 10 plus 3. 8 times 10 plus 3 over the denominator, 10. So 8 times 10 is 80, plus 3 is 83 over 10. Here's 3 and 4 over 7.
Yes.
Multiply your denominator times your whole number.
55,
Add your numerator. So that would look like 3 times 7 plus 4 over 7. So I know 3 times 7 is 21 plus 4. That's going to be 25
7.
over 7. Here's $4.20. So the first thing is the denominator times the number. Add the numerator.
21.5.
4 times 5 plus 1 over 5. It's going to
21.5.
be 1/5. Here's $6.20. 5 times 6 plus 1. 31.
31.5.
Yeah. Here's $1 and 2/3, which is 66 cents. So I'm going to multiply 6 times 1
Hence,
plus
this.
4 is 10.
This. Yes.
And here we have 6 and 3/8. 8 times 6 is 48, plus 3 is 51 over 8. 5 and a 7. So 5 times 7 is 35, plus 1 is
36. 7.
3 and a 7. So I have 3 times 7,
22.7.
1, plus 1.
22.7.
7. Let's scroll down a little. A few more. Okay, 7 and 4. So 7 times 9 is 63. Plus 4 is going to be 67.
67.9.
Here's $2.50. 2 times 4
10.4.
plus 2 is 10/4. Here's $3.90. So
39.
30 plus 9, 39, 10.
7. 10.
$2.50. 2 times
5. 2.
4 plus 1 is 5 over 2.
2.
2 and 3/8. I have 2 times 8. That'll be 16. Plus 3 is 19.
19.8.
And $10.45.
43.
43
4.
is 43.
4.
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
from this lesson is just a nice review to help you remember how to make improper fractions back into mixed numbers or mixed numbers into improper fractions, because when you're subtracting or adding mixed numbers or multiplying or dividing fractions, especially if they're mixed numbers, you're going to have to convert into an improper fraction and then back into a mixed number for the answer again. So as we're coming to the close of this week, I got an email from administration saying that they really want to post-test anyone who'd be willing to post-test online. So if you're interested in doing this, you need to have a computer, of course, and you need to contact them. So this would be just like you post-testing with Amy Harris, who's the computer coordinator at BDU, but it would be on your computer. So Amy would contact you, and she would give you the information, and it would probably be a lot like this, I imagine. I also don't think it'll be as long a test you would take with BDU. It'd probably be shorter. So this is what I need you to do. If you're interested in post-testing, text me and tell me your first and last name, your cell phone number, a valid email address. So cell phone number, email address, first and last name, and then tell me what day you'd like to do it, Monday or Wednesday, because they want me to tell you like what time they should contact you. And it can be at the same time. It can be at 5 o'clock or it can be earlier or later. Amy will just contact you and set it up. So write this down. This is my cell phone number. It's 317-809-2884. So 317-809-2884. And just let me know if you want to post test. First name, last name, your cell phone, your email, and the time you'd like to test. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, teacher.
On Monday, same time, link for Zoom. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.